I was always in a room with men. I'll be like the only girl in a team of 20, 10, 7 different guys. I came into industry when it was not popular for women to be there. A lot of ladies spend their time doing jobs that they shouldn't do, doing jobs that have no future. I always tell ladies when I meet them that you must have a 25-year outlook for yourself. Where do you want to be in 25 years? Tell yourself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And when you have that mindset, you don't feel like you're in a box. When you feel like you're in a box, you are afraid of the unknown. And so you want to cleave to the known. You get Stockholm syndrome. Even if it's not working right now, if I'm in an abusive job relationship, I better just stay because there's no job outside. There are jobs outside. The organization is not biased.
Isn't that an assumption that the organization is fair?
It's a very big assumption that a lot of women enter into organizations with. They feel that.
Many high-performing women have questions that they struggle to share with others. For example, how do I fill my home with memories and warmth while pursuing excellence at the highest level? Or how do I maintain my faith in the face of life demand? My guest today is Belema Koleoso, and she is a senior leader in industrial automation and control, currently serving as a process automation lead technical consultant for East and West Africa at Schneider Electric. She has over a decade of experience in automation and control and a leading voice in driving sustainable low-carbon engineering solutions across the continent. An electrical engineer, a technical leader, MBA graduates. She is also a wife and a mother of 3 lovely children with 1 bouncing baby. I almost called the identity of the child on the way. All right. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
I would really just want us to go down memory lane a bit. What was growing up like for you? What memories shaped you? What kind of a child were you?
What kind of a child was that? I think sometimes the best person to ask that question is my mom. So I don't embellish it a bit. But when you, like memory lane, I grew up in a house, 4 girls. One of, I'm the middle child, so I'm the third born. In my house, you can call me the tomboy. I was the guy. I remember when I was getting married and my husband went to meet the pastor. The pastor had to tell him, you're getting married to the guy of the house. So I was the guy doing all the guy stuff, boy stuff, held wrestling matches in my house with neighbors' sons. I always wanted to prove that, I had the game, I was game on at any time, So my dad was an engineer. Oh, yes, he was an engineer with Shell. And with that, I think I pretty much leaned on his path, I would do everything he's doing, go to church in his car, just hobnobbed with him all the way. Finally, I wanted to go to school, and then I said I wanted to do mechanical engineering just like him. And he called me and said, no. I don't think you want to do mechanical engineering. I think you'll be better off doing electrical. So
Interesting.
I ended up doing electrical engineering in Unilag. So I think that pretty much, the experiences with my dad majorly, shaped me. Whether it was repairing cars, fixing the lights, anything, stereo sets, all those kind of stuff, I was always in that room with him doing that. So that's pretty much shaped me, growing up, my childhood.
Interesting. So you had dad as a role model in that sense,
yes,
that you were mirroring. Were there other mental models that sort of also shaped your perception about success, womanhood, or work?
So you didn't have a lot of women when I was growing up that were career driven. I remember just one lady, her name was Ketumi. She used to work with my dad, and she was a single mom, and I always was very enamored, by her journey, There were a few ladies that were, holding the reins, where you look at family life, breadwinning. Very few. You had more of the men, in the workplace doing, the needful, to bring home the bacon. So my career models
Yeah.
were mostly guys.
Hmm.
They were mostly men. Around my dad. One other thing is, I always had a placement, a job placement, when I was from when I finished school, secondary school, university, first year, second year, I was always attached to somebody. In fact, there was this one time my dad threw myself and my sister all the way to Delta State. We were living in River State then, to work in one of his ex-colleagues' telecom shack. Okay. I met the guy years later and he said, "Man, your dad is daring. Like, he just sent his daughters to work in
Shipped you off.
I'm telling you, like, he didn't have any." So that's how it was for me. I was, and another thing is, I was always in a room with men. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be like the only girl in a team of 20, 10, 7 different guys, So that pretty much shaped my ideology around work. I didn't really have a lot of ladies, around me to give me that. Ladies more on the faith side.
Yeah.
Okay, the faith side, I had a lot of women on the faith side, that I could look to and say, okay, this is what Christian life should look like. Okay, this is what it should look like when you have a God-centered identity.
Yeah.
I also had guys, that did that too. I mean, my dad has always been a church leader in one form or the other, so that pretty much shaped it. And I think it kind of like balanced it for me, so yeah.
And you've taken us, to faith.
Mm.
I'm curious to know what was your first experience in knowing God personally?
So I grew up in a Christian family. I know what that means. You wake up to your roll call of your name going to do quiet time. You know God as the theme in the house.
Yes, yes.
He is the theme when you go to church on Sunday. I got baptized because my dad was a deacon and it was time to get baptized.
So let's baptize you.
So that was it pretty much until my third year in university.
Okay.
I think that's where I really had a personal encounter with God. I wasn't doing it because, I had just done something bad and I felt like I needed to repent again. Okay, I wasn't doing it because it was what my parents wanted. I've never really been a bad child, in the sense of, or a very adventurous child. I always walk within the range.
Just a tomboy.
Yes, I was just a tomboy. Okay, just give me, things I can screw and tear apart. Yes, that was it. Nothing adventurous. I still don't have the appetite for anything adventurous. So, just knowing the fact that you have a God, and He knows you, and He will call you by name, and He has a purpose for your life. That didn't come until my third year, in school, and it was a very personal journey for me. First time I decided to join a fellowship, it was just a realization for me that, there was more to this journey than just going to church. Okay, Pursuit of God by A.W. Tozer was one very important part of that journey. And it made Christianity very simple. Very simple. There is God, there is salvation, there is your choice. 3 things, that's all. There is this statement that I can't remember which pastor said it, one of the theologians. He said, "Tell me what the thief at the cross knew about theology. Tell me what he knew about the tenets of faith and everything, that we talk about. All he knew was he saw the Lord Jesus Christ that gave him a second chance and was going to identify him as something other than a robber." And that just changed the perspective, for him. And that was basically what happened to me. Because I think for many people that grow up in Christendom, right, there are so many things that you are burdened down with, to attain faith, maintain faith, It's like when we look at automation and control, where we say design, build, engineer, operate and maintain, that becomes fit. Like there's this whole thing to it, and it just confuses everything. But making it simple, that is just a relationship. You meet somebody, the person gives you a realization of who you are, and you decide that, no, I don't want to be this, I want to be that. And knowing that somebody has paid the price, that it's okay to find out that, okay, what I'm doing right now is not what I'm supposed to be doing. It's already been paid for. Okay, it's like when in engineering they say, or rather in career they say, fail fast but fail forward. Knowing that you already have that provision to do that, and walking in that confidence, which is what we call grace. That realization came to me at that point, and it really changed the trajectory of my life. It made me more confident about who I was in Christ. It made me more resolute, about my ethics, why I did what I did, made me delve more into scriptures and understand for myself, not, what has been preached to me, but what I am now convicted by, and I think that's the word, conviction. I was now able to live a life that was built more on conviction than just, theory and, the general perception of what it should be.
And also you were able to move away from this is what I grew up with into this is now what I believe.
Yes, this is who I am.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You obviously had a lot of memories from the university. Like the university is what, helped you build your conviction in Christ.
Yes.
And then also along your career path as well. I want to hone down a bit on what was it like, in a class where I imagine, and as you've established, we're mostly men. What was that navigation like for you?
It was pretty much commonplace for me in a sense, because I've always been used to being around guys. My best friends have always been guys. Okay, so guys don't faze me. Okay, I'm not one of those. You see, I'm not wearing any makeup. Okay, so I'm not one of those ladies that thinks about, oh, how do I look before I come out? I have my bath, I get out.
Spoken like a true engineer.
Yeah, whatever it is what you get. I don't have time to sugarcoat it. Okay, so in class it was social relationships, with males was not a problem for me. I think it was more fitting in with the ladies that I had more of a problem with.
Oh, interesting. Tell us more about that.
So there were certain things. I was a Christian, okay. I was highly ethical, okay. I had 3 friends, very fantastic young ladies, okay. And I wasn't very into what everybody was doing, okay. I like to sleep, okay. I like my peace. So if anything that is going outside that is not really my, it's not my cup of tea. Dressing, looking fashionable is not my cup of tea either. So I think that was it basically for me. Just finding my own zen. The educational system, I think, was where I had more of a challenge, fitting into that. I struggled a lot, when I got into school then. I struggled a lot. The mode of delivery of the lectures, things like that. Those were the things that were more of a challenge to me, than the presence of males, in the class. I did find with my, peers, that were guys and all that. They understood who I was. They understood what I stood for. So they didn't really bother me. I didn't have any of all those pressures of, somebody trying to cut you in class. And nah, that wasn't me, maybe the prettier girls. Yeah, so it was pretty easy for me. Yes, it was.
Interesting. And I would like just to follow up a bit on, so how were you now able to navigate, even with the female classmates, right? You had touched on that a bit, but hone down on it a little more. How did you now finally, not succumb to a certain level of peer pressure where you were trying to be like the ladies, but that you are more of a tomboy?
So it's okay. I think in university already, I was already finding my femininity a bit. So I wasn't that, and I've never been a trouser wearing kind of female. Okay, I've been more of the Miri Slessor. Yeah, I probably just wear the pants under the dress. So it was more or less like knowing that I wasn't into like the makeup and the dressing, changing your dress every other, you know, and not letting what other people do affect me. Okay. I'm also very stubborn, so I wasn't really looking at that. And the pressure would have been if I was looking for affirmation from others.
Ah.
So I can say that I didn't really have a lot of pressure. I just didn't fit in as such, because then the things people were generally doing, like, okay, there's a party, people are going for party, you wouldn't find me there, okay? Except it was like a group party that, and funny enough, I have to mention, there was this one time that, okay, I said, okay, just be a party trooper. And then I decided to go. And it was even our engineering
Department?
Yes, department, that was having a social night or something of that nature. I can't remember what it was. There was barbecue and then there was alcohol, and people were like what's the word? Is it selling the alcohol? Or I think they were selling, actually. Is it selling or serving? I can't remember which one it was. But I wanted to, especially when I'm in functions like that, I'm always like a very hands-on person. I want to help. So I was like, okay, Belema, why don't you just help? So I just went, I was helping. And then someone saw me and said, auntie, you are serving alcohol. Hey, and it just hit me, bam. I was like, oh, God.
How did I get here?
So that was it for me. Like, I wouldn't naturally be in those spaces, So it just like made us not so close, because, relationships are built when in and out of, certain spaces, you are together doing things. So that it just didn't work for us, We had a pleasant rapport, in class and all that, but it just wasn't, that deeper than that.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about your early career. What was it like in those early years in the workplace? Was there now you're coming from a background where you are a tomboy, and you've used instruments, tools, torn things apart. You've had a lot of experience with ITs and placements and things like that, thanks to dad. And then also in the university, you fit right in, particularly with your male counterpart, and you were under no pressure from the female counterpart. So was it the same thing when you got into the workplace?
Absolutely not. In some ways. So the first part was, daddy didn't get me a job. Okay. And I think that's one thing I want to resonate with the younger people. Okay. Daddy doesn't need to get you a job. Right? Daddy is going to do his part, which is to give you an education and give you exposure.
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to sponsor you for those things.
Yeah.
But daddy is not responsible for getting a job. And that was something I had to learn. I finished with a 2-2. I didn't finish with a 2-1. Okay. And what that means, first of all, is that certain doors are naturally closed. And you have to find the ones that are open. So some people would think, oh, daddy's going to find the ones that are open. Daddy's going to open all the doors. He's the Superman. No, it doesn't work that way. In some cases, it does work that way, but it's a good reality check that people have very early, that this ride stops after school. And after that, you have to find your own way. Either you decide to hitchhike, or you decide that you want to build your own vehicle to take you to the next, point. And so that was basically it for me. I had to learn to network. I had to learn to use tools. Shout out to LinkedIn. LinkedIn was the game changer in my life. I had a friend, what's his name? Shogunuga, okay? And he taught me how to use LinkedIn. He taught me how to make LinkedIn a powerful tool in my career, journey. And so I used LinkedIn. I had a list of companies that I wanted to work in. I started out, sending cold mails to all the executives in that company, to the functional managers in that company, asking for a seat at the table. Okay. Before this, I had done a specialization course, I have to mention that, in automation and control, without actually knowing what the automation and control market was. Being an electrical engineer, finishing my NYSC, I had to do something, okay? In fact, that's another story, because I finished my NYSC with what would I call it? With an opportunity to work at a company, right? But I didn't make the right choice. I wanted to go directly into the company instead of going into graduate trainee, and apparently I didn't know that the role I was looking for was to be outsourced. And so I waited too long, and then I missed the graduate trainee opportunity.
Oh.
Yes. So I at that point I had to now re-strategize and see what to do. So I decided to go for electrical training to be an installation specialist. From there, I delved into automation and control, and then decided to go to specialize. I specialized, I came back. So that's where I'm now talking about, where I now had to start selling myself to say, hey, this is me, this is what I know, this is the value I can bring to your company. Will you give me an opportunity to do that? And that's where I got the shocker, okay, that yes, you're a lady, yes, you are competent, but you don't get a seat at the table in automation and control at the time when I started my career. So everywhere I applied, oh, you're so good, we don't take ladies right now. In fact, there was one I did interview at the company, you're so good, wow, this is nice, but we don't take ladies right now. Because automation and control is a supporting function for, larger corporations. Okay, so they think about how to best economize their engineering costs. Okay, and definitely taking a lady to the field, or taking a lady in your employ as an engineer, what that means is that you have to build your company around her life cycle. Okay, a lady can come and tell you today, oh, I have menstrual pain, I can't come to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
she's pregnant, and she has to go on maternity
Case in
leave.
point.
Case in point. So it wasn't very economical to have an engineer as a female working in your company, especially when you're a supporting function kind of company, where you are trying to bring down your engineering costs. So I had to learn that very fast, but I didn't let it deter me. And I got a booking. Okay, one of the managers decided to take me on, and he gave me an interview hearing in his company, and the head of automation came. They interviewed me. I did very fantastic. It was like, wow, okay, but there was still that, which is that ladies were not engineers. In that company too, they didn't have any lady that was an engineer. They just had ladies doing other roles, And so when I came in, the first thing they told me that, okay, yeah, you're very, very good, but you'll be doing business development. And I said, no, I don't know how to develop businesses. I know how to speak to machines. That's what I do, And they're like, no, right now it's, so I went back to the MD and said, I don't do this business development. I don't know anything about it. What I know is how to program controllers to do what they're supposed to do. And that's why I came to you. And he says, okay, I'll tell them to give you a chance. And they gave me a chance. That 1 year, I finished as Employee of the Year.
Wow.
Oh, yes. And I went on from there to one of the other companies that I applied to before that wasn't taking ladies. And that's one thing I also want to drop, which is there are seasons and times for different things, right? And that doesn't say that you shouldn't prepare. You have to have your preparation in check, because there will be a season for it. There will be a time for that, okay? It wasn't my time, or rather, it wasn't the time for it when I applied then, okay? But I was prepared at this point in time. And what I found out, from this company, in fact, I didn't apply again. They just called me, at that point in time it was popular now to have a lot of women in your employ, and people were trying to, fit that narrative and look for women and, comply, basically, and that was the story for this company. And they checked my records, on LinkedIn and all that, and they decided they wanted me, in their company. So that worked. And that's where I'm still working, till today, and it's been, like you said, when you ask the question, has it been the same? It hasn't.
Experience.
Because then what you now see as a lady is that, one, you have to be aware of where you are. You have to be aware of the fact that there is your life cycle and your natural tendencies, your inclinations, your physical makeup that is not like the guys. Okay, you can play like a guy all you want, but you're not a guy. Okay, and there are certain things that you then need to learn about yourself and advocate for in your company. It's one thing for the company to give you that seat at the table. It's another thing for you to ensure that that seat at the table helps you to succeed. Okay? And in succeeding, you have to question the status quo. You have to challenge the status quo. You have to show that you're competent. You are not asking for, should I say, a free pass card. Okay? But you are showing them that the world has been designed for men, but there are women also who need to exist. And for women to exist in this ecosystem and bring even greater value than maybe what the guys have been bringing before, and if we're all going to come together and drive these KPIs that you have, then certain things have to change. And that's basically been my story. Advocating for things, taking on challenges, and, in it all, just ensuring that they see that a woman can succeed. Since I got in, maybe about 7 to 10 ladies have gotten after me, and it's not should I say, it's not strange anymore, to see that women are in the company. They are in and they are succeeding. Yes, I always play that big sister role, to hold their hand, make them focus, help them understand certain things, when they meet certain Rubicons, but they're doing well, they're doing very well. And I cannot say, I can't divorce my journey, from that success, that they have. So it's been different, but it's been good different.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack in what you have shared, a whole lot to unpack. And I'm wondering, where do I start? Really. So I guess for that young graduate out there who is trying to figure out LinkedIn, because believe you me, I've been in spaces where a couple of young people struggle with LinkedIn. They feel like it is a bit show-offy, right? And here you are saying that was a tool that you utilized to, help you get a seat at the table.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, how did you utilize LinkedIn? Give us tips, literally, on just how to hack that LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay, so I see a lot of people do a lot of brand announcements. So it's very funny when I see, some are just coming to my mind as I'm talking. So I'm not saying go and be a brand announcer. I'm saying be present, know what's happening, and be part of it. What I did in my time was that I paid for a premium account. Okay. I think then it was about 7,000 naira.
Just 1 second. So when you say in your time, we're looking at what year?
That's about 12, 13 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was about 7,000, and I paid for that. In fact, my friend advised me to do that. And the reason he advised me to do that was, he said, Belema, you won't see who is posting the jobs, and you wouldn't get what they call in-mails, access to in-mails. In-mails are, it's a pass for you to reach somebody you are not connected to. All right. So if you saw an executive, most likely at my level then, there was no way I would be connected to them. Even if it's third or fourth connection, I will probably not have any connection to them. But I can see their name on LinkedIn. I can see their account, but I cannot reach them. So what I can do, even if I send a friend's request, they might not even accept it. So what I can do is I can send them an email, okay, through LinkedIn that gives me a direct access to this person, and then I can sell my career, to them. And so that's what I did. Another part is having a clear structure around your person, your profile. Have a clear profile. Let them see what you are doing, what you have done, and post your successes. Okay. Now we do brand announcements with pictures, and some you just see a pretty girl looking pretty on the page, and then there's a whole lot of stuff she's talking about. You can't really you don't have time. You just see the picture. If it's someone you say, oh, nice picture, I just put like, but you actually never really read what she said. So for me, it was more of just having a one pager. If it's a certification, I post the certification there, the actual certification, and say, okay, I got this, and just a little caption that says I got that. Not because I was looking for people to like it, but I was looking to build my profile. Okay, because when you get in touch with the person needs to say, who is this person? And the only way you know who this person is to check your profile and then see what you have there. Okay, not necessarily your post. Like, posts can be like 100 and something. I don't know that anybody wants to go. I don't know there's anybody that goes and then looks at all the posts. Okay, but if you have those captions there that show what, like certifications, job descriptions, that you've had over the years, there should be a track record that you have there to say, this is what I have done. And that was it for me. And then other mutual connections that you have, okay, because they may see that, but there's no authenticity to it, except I'm able to call someone and say, oh, do you know this person? Have you heard about her? I see you have a mutual connection. And then they can tell you, yes, I know this person. Okay, so that was basically it for me. Being able to, for me, it was knowing the companies I wanted to work in, finding out the relevant people I needed to get in touch with in those companies, and then being able to send messages to them directly and say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. Do you have an opportunity that, will be right for me? So that was what it was. So for people looking to use LinkedIn, have a clear profile. Today you have AI that is infused into LinkedIn. I would say take advantage of it. AI is an assistant. AI is not the end game, okay? A lot of people just rely on AI to do the thing and then they post, copy and paste. No, don't do that. It's going to give you ideas. AI is going to broaden your creativity. And then when it gives you those suggestions, then streamline it, see how it's relevant to what you have done, and then, you have a clearer, profile structured, that you have there. That's what it is for, basically. Then get involved with a lot of things, a lot of projects and all that would, be the fillers in your, experience on LinkedIn. And then get in touch with people, tell them what you want, and then, be optimistic that something will come out of that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people would find that very useful and, would take that step to go ahead and just make that tweak to their LinkedIn profiles.
Yeah.
When you were talking, you also talked about how you have perhaps, well, maybe you didn't set out to do that, but in a way you started mentoring others.
Yes.
Right? I'm curious to know, in progressing up to senior level leadership, what were some of the things that maybe had to change, in just how you led or how you engaged with others?
Pretty much not much, actually. There's this joke I have when I meet my friends and we start talking for maybe 15 minutes. I'm like, Belema, you've never changed. I'm like, I don't understand. You want me to change to a cow or a goat? What exactly? So I think leaders have to be authentic, right? You have a lot of people that get into leadership and begin to change who they are. Nah, it doesn't work for me. And I have two big brothers, that are industry leaders today, Leye and Bite Falade. I spend a lot of time with them. They're the same guys I knew 20 years ago. Nothing has changed. And like I told you, I form my ideology from what I see, okay? I know a lot of other guys like them, okay? I mean, I can just start naming a lot of names, okay? And one of the things that has resonated with me with all these people is that they are the same guys that I've always known as a child. They haven't changed. And they are not just like that because it's me. They are like that because they are like that, okay? So I don't do fake. I don't do, okay, this is my CEO voice. I'm not a CEO. Disclaimer. This is my
Soon.
I'm not a
Soon.
CEO yet.
Yes,
Yet.
soon.
Okay, so I don't know, this is my big madam voice. This is me, okay? And I think that has really helped in mentoring others, okay? I'm able to understand where they are and speak to where they are. And they're able to see me for who I am and understand that I'm not giving them, bobo gists. I'm telling them as raw as and as candid as I can tell them, and nothing is off limits. That's another thing. A lot of people will tell you keep your private life private and keep your career life, public, okay? But, I'm a marketplace apostle, okay? And the Bible tells us that at every point in time, we should be ready to answer questions. Okay, when people come to you and ask you questions, you should be able to answer. Okay, and so that's how I carry on. No, some people can learn from you if you decide that you want to be filtered. Then there's no learning there. You're telling them what is not obtainable. Okay, one of my big brother's careers, there was a point in his life when he didn't have a job. Even I sent him a couple of jobs, to apply for. Anything I saw, I would send to him at that time. And then piggyback later on, now he's CEO, and I was sharing with him an experience on a role I'm trying to get and that I didn't get. And he said, Belema, value those low times in your life because it makes you human. If you get everything just when you ask for it, you lose your humanity. You don't know the price, that you have to pay. You don't know the sacrifice that was behind it. Everything was just dished to you, and that taught me a lot. Okay, he could have decided to keep that part of his life private.
True.
And I could have probably not even known anything about it, until this time. And then when he's telling me, it doesn't resonate to me because I've not seen that in him. But because he exposed that part to me, I was able to understand, from not just from the words he was saying, but because I know him. So when he makes a statement like that, I'm able to relate it to something. And that's something leaders need to learn. Try and be open. Try and be a leader that inspires conviction, okay? That inspires the person to actually be a human while on that career journey. We need more human beings. Okay, we have a lot of workplace robots, people who just go through the motion, they are very, fixed and set on, just achieving KPIs without actually having a life. Understand that you are a full human being with expressions and emotions, and experiences. And with all these, your ease, be able to share that with people and let people see how you progress. Then your career progress makes more sense. Then it's repeatable. Somebody else can decide, okay, I can do this. When the person sees you as a stainless glass, how exactly, with the convoluted nature of that person's life, do you think that person is going to think they can get that? They'll think it's not attainable. They'll say, oh, it happened to her, but it cannot happen to me because I have this going on, I have that going on, I have that. But they have to understand that your life is just as convoluted as theirs. And if you can do it, then they can. So that's been that's my ethos, for, my career journey, bringing other people, under me. I live a transparent life. I live a life where there are no bad questions. Ask any question, and I will authentically, guide them through that phase of their life.
And your response once again reminds me of why we're having the Ignite Room Leadership podcast, so
Okay.
that we can literally just glean from people like you, in an unfiltered manner,
Yeah.
and see just how that spurs others to take the same steps and take the same actions. Now, at the initial stages of this conversation, I had talked about how a running question in the minds of high-performing women is, how am I able to pursue excellence at the highest level, at the same time fill my home with memories and with warmth? To that woman, a young woman who is currently navigating motherhood while also trying to build a strong career, what would your advice be to her?
Okay. So, the first thing I said before was you have to advocate for yourself. You have to define what you want. I watched this bad podcast once, and the lady said you have to choose one path. Only one path can work. Either you are a high performing lady and bad at home,
Choose
or you are
one.
absolutely good at home and bad at your career. And I thank God for my stubborn nature that said, "Lie, cannot be me. I must have it all." I'm the kind that I must have it all, and it must be sweet. In fact, that's one thing I told God when I was getting married. I must enjoy marriage. I must enjoy it. If I'm not enjoying it, it cannot be my marriage. And that doesn't mean that there aren't challenges. And that's one thing I want to let ladies understand. When I got married, my husband was living in Port Harcourt. I was living in Lagos. Okay. I decided to do 2 weeks in Lagos, 2 weeks in Port Harcourt. And I needed to negotiate that with my boss. I had built enough competence and steam at this point. In fact, when I was telling my dotted line manager, I was like, Belema, you're going to be leaving head office to go. It's not going to work. You're going to be forgotten and all that. And again, I said, cannot be me. And I knew that I wanted to be with my husband. And 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off sounded like a good deal. So I went to tell him, and the guy told me, I don't care where you are. I don't care where you're working from. So long as you can still perform the way you're performing, it's fine with me. And I did that. 2 weeks on, going to Port Harcourt, coming back, doing that. It wasn't easy, but it was a decision I made because I have to have a life with my husband, and I also have to have a life in the office, And during that part, something came up where I had this opportunity to champion a product, that came out. And at this point, I was pregnant. And someone said to me, Belema, at this point, you're a liability. You shouldn't do this.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's another challenge in the road, and a lot of ladies come, to that point where they feel like, oh my God, I'm entering into motherhood. I have to pedal down, And when they told me that, see, it cannot be me. And he told me, he said, you don't know if you're going to have a CS. You don't know what, and then the company is going to put all this investment on you. What are you thinking? And so I went back, had a chat with my dad, had a chat with my husband, and that is where having a good family support comes in, because it matters what comes in your head, as much as you are resolute. You need a team behind you that is cheering you on. And they told me, come on, there's nothing that cannot be arranged. You can arrange it. And so I went back, I told them that I'm doing it. In fact, they told me that a friend of mine should do it, And this person is my person, my guy, So he even came to say that, CEO, I'm not trying to chance you, but this is what they are saying. I was like, nah, don't worry. I would, field it out. And I fielded it out. HR, GM, everybody. But there was one time I told them, having a child is not cancer. Pregnancy is not cancer.
Go for it.
Okay? So, and I saw my dad in 2008 fight cancer. He's totally in remission now. I mean, this is how many years later? Okay, but I saw him go to work. We packed his lunch to go to work and all that. So I've seen a man go through cancer and have a career. And I've seen so many in his office go through different kinds of lymphoma and all those things and still do their work. Then because I get belle, no, now cannot be now. So I tell them, say, I am doing this work, okay? And to God be the glory, it was a very successful, time. I had to do 3 international trips. When my baby was 2 weeks old, we had to go to Calabar to get her international passport. I had, certifications to do during that period, and I did them all. And what am I saying? My baby was fine, my home was fine, and my job was fine. And there have been many of that. I mean, if I start all the challenges I've had so far, we need 5 years to complete this, But that's it basically. You are always going to have challenges, but you have to always root for yourself. You have to always root for the fact that You have kids that need to look up to you and say, if mommy can do it, then I can do it. I have 2 girls, I have 1 boy. And I want each of them to understand that you have first a human being before you have male or female. The person is a human being, and the person has something to give. And you shouldn't then filter the value that comes out from that person because of the person's gender. Another part is that you have to be open to understanding that everybody is different and everybody needs equity. Everybody needs, even the man needs equity, right? So also does the woman. The woman needs equity. And you have to be equitable to all. Okay? And then for you yourself, you must advocate for yourself. I play with my kids. Just today, we've been for swimming, tennis, football, same day. Okay?
Life of a mom.
Yes. They have fumigating my house right now. I have people in my house cleaning it. I have to do all that, arrange all of that. The house has to be, intact. I have to pay attention to how my kids are growing. I have to be there seeing them grow. And I also have to be present in my job. I just finished the last part of my MBA actually, and I remember thinking, when I was doing my capstone project that, man, I am done. Like, I can't take this anymore. Yeah, because the pregnancy hormones, get to you and all that, but that drive to finish, succeed, meet that milestone and go to the next thing, is always a driver. These days, normally in the evenings, I ride my bike with my kids. We ride our bicycle in the estates and just have time together. That hasn't been happening lately, but they understand why, which is because mommy is having, this course that she's doing. They all understand what an MBA is at this point. They will tell you, mommy is doing an MBA. And when I was done with my capstone, and then I told them, wow, we finished rejoicing, and then I'm like, now what's the next challenge? My daughter was like, mommy, no! That's not fair! You can start another one.
Mommy, take a break.
Because you're like, we need our time, Not that they're not having their time, but yeah, it's divided. But they need to understand that. And I teach them that when I'm teaching them to focus. I tell them when you have something to do, you have to know how you focus, how you share your time, how you prioritize. So you then see that it's a very beautiful journey. Okay? One, have a support system around yourself. You can't do it alone. Remember when I was getting married, I was telling myself, I'm going to be cleaning my house by myself, doing everything by myself. Man, by the time I got pregnant for my first child, I knew that wasn't it. No.
That wasn't going to be it.
It's not going to work. But have a support system. I've had nannies that have been with me, my nanny and my new 6 years now. Yeah, because you then see that you are also running a mini economy in your house.
Come on.
You become a project manager. You have all these things you have to do. You have to have a support system. You have to have, if you have your mother-in-law, your mom, take very good advantage of those, resources. You have a sister that can come around. Take advantage of those. Have people around you. And be able to, dish out, the needs you have, and not just keep them all to yourself. Okay, be open. Receive help. Okay, it helps especially when you're a mom. Okay, you have to have a system that works. Okay, and then organize your time, organize your day. Okay, don't always come home and you're tired. Why are you always tired? Okay, prioritize your work. Know what you can finish, in one day. Know how you can schedule things for productivity. They say the most busy person is actually not the most productive person. Many a time, person is so busy because the person does not know what to put on long-term, achievement, short-term, they don't know low-hanging fruits that they can just, quickly take advantage of. Meal preps, things like that. You have some women that say, I'm working, so I cannot cook. Why can't you cook? Why can't you cook? Probably because you're not organizing it. Yes, because another thing is diet. Your family needs a healthy diet. A healthy family is a family that will stay away from the hospital. And when I'm telling you, when kids are in the hospital is the worst time of your life because you can't focus, you are not productive. So the first thing to start with is ensure your children have a healthy diet. So having a system around yourself where you have a support system, where you know how to make your family healthy, when you look at your meals, when you look at their sleep time, have a routine. Not having your children rule your life. I had to learn that the hard way, that your kids have to be asleep at a certain time so that you have time to do what you want to do, okay? Also have time when you have pleasure for your kids, where you spend time with them pleasurably, because that's the beautiful memories you're building. We have this Christmas routine, where we go take pictures in neighbors' Christmas lights, build a tradition around them. Let them also have a faith center. Because for me, as a Christian, I know that when you have children who are faith-centered, you have less problems. They know that lying is wrong. Even if they lie one time or one of this, a time and now again, they know it's wrong, okay? And they're able to correct themselves. They're able to know what to do at the right time. And that gives you peace, So have that faith center for your kids, and make those fun memories with them. Let them see you as a human being also. Not you are cordial in the office because they will sack you. Then when you come home, you become a tyrant. No. Be pleasurable with your children. And you see that as you take the challenges one after the other, and authentically give yourself to them, ensuring that for this thing, the one thing is that I'm going to win. That's the first part. I'm going to win. Then what do I need to win? And you walk through that. You see that you are growing in your career as much as your family is also growing.
Wow, thank you so much. That's definitely packed. And just a follow-up question is, you've talked about advocating for yourself as a woman. I want to know, first, your confidence. Did it come from your family? And then can this level of confidence can it be acquired along the way? Because you've shared a lot of stories about how you've advocated for yourself. It doesn't come easy to everyone. So is this something that can be acquired along the way? And where did you get, where's the source
of my confidence? Where is the source of my confidence? I think the source of my confidence is knowing that God owns my tomorrow. Okay? And when I am doing what I'm doing with in righteousness and truth, okay, I cannot be bothered. And God knows what I want. I want a good life, right? My trust is in God. And He has commissioned me to do what is right in His eyes first. He says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and every other thing will be added unto you, okay? Man is not going to give me what I want. Man is an instrument from God to give me what I want. So I don't look at faces, all right, when I say what I say. I say what I say, and that is it.
I said what I said.
I said what I said, but I say it respecting the person, not being offensive. There's a difference between being confident and being cocky and being proud, okay? Being confident is you know what you know, okay? And you want this person to see your own side of, the story, okay? And that is it for me, basically. I think it's that conviction in who I am in Christ and understanding that God owns my tomorrow. It's pretty much leaves me fearless, okay? And another thing is, in my bid to do good for today, you see, anytime I am asking God for something, I know that has to be the way I see the world for another person. Okay, I can't be coming to God and asking Him for something that I am not capable of giving to someone else. Okay, so that also kind of like drives me when things happen. Okay, there are a lot of things in the corporate world that they will tell you, look, leave this thing, it's always been like this, right? But I believe that there would always be a time to change what is happening. And maybe also because of the way I came into industry. I came into industry when it was not popular for women to be there. Okay? And I have seen the power of advocacy when you advocate for yourself. Advocating, meaning this thing is possible, but it's a blind spot right now. It's an oversight that the organization has. Okay? And understanding that the organization is fair. The organization is not biased. Okay.
But isn't that an assumption that the organization is fair?
It's a very big assumption that a lot of women enter into organizations with. They feel that things are happening the way they are and people want it to be like that. That is an assumption, a big assumption that a lot of ladies have. It's good you ask that question. Because when people meet me, you can imagine a lady has had 2 miscarriages and is drafted to go to the field, and she's afraid to tell her manager that she is pregnant because she doesn't want to be dropped from the team. So she's assuming that the manager would be what's the word now? Will be ill-minded towards her because she's pregnant. Okay, she hasn't given the system a chance. She's just wallowing in her own idea of what the outcome will be. And that's where advocacy comes in. You are pregnant. It's not a crime. It's not, there's no rule book that says don't be pregnant, okay? You have a pre-existing condition. That too is not a crime. A lot of men have pre-existing conditions. A lot of men have high blood pressure, different, kind diabetes, a lot of, pre-existing conditions, but they are given a room to function. And so you have to understand that where you are is not your fault and is nothing to be ashamed of. And also give the organization a chance to prove themselves that in them saying you're a lady, come here to work, they actually meant it. It wasn't it wasn't a trap. Okay? And they are committed to doing good by you. And so if ladies, I think that is it. If ladies come to the table with that mindset, first knowing that I'm not here to whine about what I'm feeling. I want to succeed. I want to help this company succeed. But I need equity. When they look at it from that perspective and understand that this company is ready to give you equity, then they would have the will to advocate. So I think that's what ladies need to grow. The will to advocate that comes from the knowledge that organizations are not, first of all, bad. Organizations are actually looking to give an equitable opportunity to both men and women.
I want to play a bit of a devil's advocate here.
Okay.
And really, I'm just thinking that, but then there's some organizations that, on paper, yes, they want to give equity, but in reality, that is not how they have been designed, or that is not what their structure would allow. How does a lady then navigate this kind of environment? Does she just go at it straight with the mindset of, even though this is what the structure is, I believe that you can do better than that? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. You give them a chance to prove you wrong. Always give somebody a chance to prove you wrong. Okay, many women don't give that chance to organizations. They just feel like, oh, they are going to sack me. And be okay to walk away. I mean, it's not the end of the world. And that's where your competence comes in. If you are bringing value to the table, you should never be afraid to walk away. My dad told me something they do in his organization then, which is every 3 years you throw your CV out and try to get another job. Okay? It could be a basis for you to come back and renegotiate. But ultimately, it tells you whether you are being redundant. Okay? A lot of ladies spend their time doing jobs that they shouldn't do. Doing jobs that have no future. I always tell ladies when I meet them that you must have a 25-year outlook for yourself. Where do you want to be in 25 years? Okay. Where are you now? All right. What are your short bursts of 5 years in between? If you have a plan for yourself and you are actually building, you are building that plan consensuously, okay, you will not be held in the cold. Many women feel like they are in a box and there's nothing outside that box, And they have to understand that the world is their oyster. You can change yourself at any time. I can decide today that I want to be a musician.
Come on.
Yes. I can decide today that I want to go and start running. I just have to give birth first. Then I become an athlete. Okay? You can do whatever it is you have decided you want to do. You just have to give it time and your effort. And you need to understand that. And you have to find the time to be able to do that. Okay? I remember when I took my TUV certification, I was 5 months pregnant for my second child. And when I was doing, my third child actually, 5 months pregnant for my third child. And that exam is notorious for people failing. Like, guys fail this exam like, omo. I think the only thing scarier than that is JAM. Yes, that's the only thing I can. Like,
or bar finals.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm not a lawyer, so like, it's a very scary exam, right? And I took this exam. While I was taking the exam, I was super tired. I'd already say feeling the fatigue. And I told the lecturer, you know what, I'm done. If I fail, I'll come back next year and write it. That's exactly what I told him. If I fail this exam, I'll come back next year and write it. And I was surprised that I passed. Okay, it was scary, but I passed. And that's basically it. Like, you have to give yourself that chance and tell yourself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do anything. And when you have that mindset, you don't feel like you're in a box. When you feel like you're in a box, you are afraid of the unknown. And so you want to cleave to the known. You get Stockholm syndrome, Even if it's not working right now, if I'm in an abusive job relationship, I better just stay because there's no job outside. There are jobs outside. You just have to build the skill and be the right candidate for those jobs. Okay? So ladies have to give these companies the benefit of the doubt to prove them wrong. Okay? And in the advent that they actually come off and say, okay, yes, we are as wicked as you think we are, understand that you have brought a lot of value to the table. You are valuable. You have a lot of things inside of you that the next company would want to pick up just like that. And so you call their bluff and say, okay, then I'm going. And then you surprise yourself that you can even get a better deal than what you have at present. I know a lot of ladies that have left, an organization and gone to another organization. They were in this organization, they were lead, they were in another organization, they are manager, okay? It happens every day. But it doesn't come by staying in your comfort zone and accepting, the piecemeal that you're getting, even when it's a very bad meal, okay? You have to, first of all, understand your intrinsic value and understand that every time you come to the table, you are actually bringing that value to the table. And as you're coming to that table, the person at the other side of the table has to also recognize that value and meet you at that table ready to, do right by your value. So that's it for ladies. Any lady can advocate for herself with an organization. But even before she starts advocating for herself within that organization, she has to first advocate for herself, by herself, with herself. She has to understand her value. She has to understand, this is what I am, this is what I have, this is what I have to give.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And to just close, your thoughts, what has faith taught you about timing and identity?
Very good question. Very, very good question. You see, I got married at age 29. Yeah. Had my first child at 30. Okay. Everybody has their different life clocks. He created them and he created them male and female. All right? There was Cain and there was Abel in the Bible. Okay? Everybody has their individual identity and their time for certain things. If you see the story of Judah in the Bible, okay, when you follow different characters, okay, you see that at some point in their life, you don't see the shine, you don't see the luster, but it comes out later on. Judah produced the lineage of Jesus Christ, okay, and that has taught me that there are times and seasons in your life. And if you are faith-driven, okay, when you have a God center, you know that irrespective of the time and the season, his thoughts towards me are thoughts of good and not of evil, to bring me to an expected end. And that is why I always tell people about the 25-year plan. Don't look at your today. Your today may not look nice. It may look like a shoe that you keep patching every day. But your tomorrow is bigger than that. And you have to understand that. Understand it. Let it resonate with you. Because that's going to build your identity. That's going to make you act like a CEO when you have just 5,000 naira in your pocket. Who you are has absolutely nothing to do with what you have. It has absolutely nothing to do with where you are. Who you are is who you have defined yourself to be in Christ, first of all. Because when you define yourself in Christ, then it's eternal. It's not short-lived. It is long-term. This is a long-term relationship, okay? And that's who you are is going to meet different phases. That's who you are has ethics. It has a core. Your core is your North Star. So every time you're on that journey, you know where you're going. So you cannot be distracted. You see different things, okay? You see the seeds that fell on the wayside and all that, but you know that there is good soil. I'm aiming for the good soil. I'm not aiming for all these other, and that just propels you. It gives you energy. It gives you confidence, okay? It gives you the will to pick up and continue. You cannot say you are depressed. What's depressing you? That it did not work. How many times did what's his name try to make light bulb?
About times then.
And you have just done one. And then you're doing like the world is over. It cannot be me. It cannot
It cannot be me.
It cannot be me. Okay? And your story will not be sweet if it keeps saying, he entered there and then it worked. He entered there and then did you come with juju or what? No. Your story is sweet when they show the good and the bad. Think about when you're watching a movie, okay, a thriller. You have the gangan parts, the almost dead parts. Then you have the climax of good, happily ever after. That is life. And so that identity that you have prepares you for those times. Your faith helps you to overcome those times. Helps you to stay away from depression. You cannot be depressed when you are the son of a king. You cannot be depressed. When you have the spirit that raised Christ Jesus from the dead living inside of you, what did he say? It will quicken your mortal body. That even though you are not feeling it, you are feeling it. I was talking with somebody recently, and the person was saying, you look so tired. I said, no, that's just the preggy look. That's not how I feel inside. Some people will say that to you. I'm like, yes, so I'm tired. This is not easy. Oh my God. No, sorry. I don't take no labels, okay? It's a pretty look, but it's not how I feel inside, okay? You are able to counter any narrative that is being thrown at you because you already know who you are. And when the challenges come, it's like a project, okay? You break it down. What's the problem? Define the problem, okay? What's my solution? You define the solution. You build an algorithm for that solution. And then you make it work. Do I need people to help me? What resources do I need? What network do I need? Every problem just needs an algorithm. It's either known to you or it's known to your Heavenly Father. You just need to know how to bring it out. And then it works. Nothing is rocket science. Even rocket science is something they're already doing. Elon Musk is already carrying people to space. It's not a NASA thing anymore. It's almost becoming commonplace. All right? So you just have to know that every problem has a solution. There is no problem in this life that does not have a solution. Even death has a solution. That's what we are finding out. First of all, there's eternity. Okay? There's nothing that doesn't have. Nothing is final. Because even death has eternity. So if I say, my problem is I'm afraid of death, then what do I need to do? I need to make sure that it's no longer a fear. And that's where my relationship with God comes in. I know that there is life after death. So there is no problem that does not have a solution. And when you come at life with that, you see that one, your identity gives you that solid ground that you are standing on. And then the challenges that come just become what? A problem that has a solution. And when you have that mindset towards life, you just see that you are just bound to live a beautiful life. Peer pressure is not your own. Depression is not your own. Even when sickness comes, right? You know that it's just what? A problem that has a solution. And so you find the solution. You know, one of the things my mom did when we were growing up was, you cannot have malaria and be lying down inside the house. How? In Mrs. Harris' house?
No way.
You will find yourself to stand up, go and take your medication, go and look for food to eat. You can't be lying down. She's not going to say, oh, how are you? Is your leg paining you? Oh, let me... No, my mother was never like that. And so when I tell my children, I do the same thing for my children. You are sick, where's your medicine? You need to go take your medication. Because you need to know that it's a problem that has a solution. And I have a part to play to get that solution to work, which is what? I need to take my medicine. I need to be able to eat. I can't say I don't have appetite, then I'll just stay there. No. You have to be ready to give it the work. And so that's basically what has worked for me, you know. God is my identity. I found my identity in Christ. And I understand that come rain, come shine, his plans for me are plans of good and not of evil, to see me to an expected end. So that's my North Star. Every challenge that comes is surmountable. And when I pass this challenge, I know that there are others in front. But in it all, at the end, I am getting to my expected end.
Fantastic. And I think that's a beautiful place to end this episode. Thank you so much. There's been a lot that you have unpacked for us, and a lot of nuggets as well. So many times when we were talking, I almost said clock it, you know, but I had to restrain myself. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.